Hey Knights, so we're getting very, very, very close to the ending here of the Island in the World of Black Butler. Only a couple more left. Excitement. Okay, so we are on chapter 22, Celine's point of view. After the excitement of the day Lizzie visited was over, and Sebastian and I took my bag into the basement, and we put it somewhere none of the others would touch it, but could still get to it if I wanted to. After that, Sebastian took me out to the woods where we had a picnic, which was really romantic. As we were walking back to the manor, Sebastian stops walking before turning to me and picking me up. Let's test out your powers, my lady. I haven't had time to teach you anything yet, Sebastian says. I give a small sigh as he carries me back into the woods. When we get to where he was taking me, he puts me down before looking me over. Now I know that your eyesight and hearing has improved greatly, so let's test your strength, Sebastian says before pointing at a boulder that was close by. I look it over before looking at Sebastian, not sure what he wants me to do. Try lifting it, Sebastian says, and I give a small nod before walking over to it, trying to pick it up. There is no way I can lift this, and I was right, because I struggled with it until I wanted to scream because nothing was happening. I look over at Sebastian, who is shaking his head, a small frown on his face. I could feel the tears starting to form, because I had disappointed him. Just as I thought, your strength hasn't improved as of yet, which means your other's form hasn't fully developed as well. I'm also guessing that your speed is still the same, Sebastian says as he walks over and dusts off my hands. Let's have a race then, I say, which makes him blink in surprise. A race? Sebastian asks, a little uncertain of what I'm saying. Yep, a race. We can run from over here to that big tree over there and back, I say as I kick my heels off, which makes Sebastian frown a little. All right, but I'm not going to hold back on you, he says before getting ready to run. Go, we both yell, before taking off, running. I run as fast as I can, and when I get to the tree, turn as fast as I can without losing any of my speed and taking off for the boulder. When I get there, I take a few deep breaths, putting my hands on the boulder to support me a little, because I was a tad dizzy. I feel Sebastian's hand on my back rubbing little circles into it. That was very impressive, Celine, he says, and I nod a little before taking another deep breath. Everything around me was starting to go dark, and I fall into Sebastian's open arms. Sebastian's point of view. Celine faints into my open arms, which I had guessed would happen. I pick up her heels in the basket before heading back into the manor. Once we were in our room, I take off her dress and her corset, which was restricting her breathing. I put her in bed in her underdress, which I would normally never allow, but I knew she would wake up sooner or later. I had been surprised that her speed had increased, but her strength hadn't. Maybe her change will be truly complete once she had her first soul, I think, as I hang up her dress and put other things away. I change my clothes and lay in the bed next to Celine, pulling her closer to my body, not wanting her too far away. I had yet to tell Celine that the young master was going to head to Paris, and that I was going to ask that she stay here. I didn't want her to get hurt if something was to go wrong. The next morning, I get up early to make the delivery to the young to make the deliver. The next morning, I get up early to make the delivery that the young master had ordered, and kiss Celine on the top of her head before leaving. I've had a long day, obviously. Celine's point of view. I walk up when I feel Sebastian kiss the top of my head, but I let him think I'm still asleep, so he doesn't worry about me. I lie in bed for a few more minutes before getting out of bed and dressed. I walk down to the kitchen and only to have Bard almost knock me over, but he twists as we fall, so he lands on the ground first, and not me. Sorry about that, Celine. We have to get the young master's things ready to go, and I was in a hurry. You're not hurt, are you? Bard asks as I stand up before helping him up. I'm fine, Bard. Go get your work done, I say as I dust off my dress. He gives me a big smile before running off. I shake my head a little before walking over to the oven to see what kind of things Sebastian was making. I sigh a little when I realize that he hasn't started anything yet, so I wash my hands before starting on some dough for muffins. I was just about done when arms wrapped around my waist and someone leaning onto my back a little. My lady, what are you doing? Sebastian asks, his warm breath tickling my neck a little. Cooking, I believe, is what it's called. I saw that you hadn't started anything, so decided to make some muffins, I say, which makes him laugh a little. That will be light for the young master to have, he says before letting me go so I could finish. I knew he was watching me closely. You left early this morning. Where did you go? I asked as I filled the tins before they were ready to go in the oven. It was hot enough for them. The young master gave me an order that I had to carry out, Sebastian says before giving me that look. Oh, right, you're delivering all those baby toys to Aberline's widow. I thought it was a very sad and thoughtful thing for him to do, I say, a few tears start to fall. Sebastian was over to me in a matter of seconds, wiping my tears away so that they wouldn't get in the food. Try not to cry as I go talk to the young master about his trip, Sebastian says before kissing the top of my head and leaving me alone in the room. They are going to leave me behind when I am needed the most, I think, as I put the muffins in the oven and watch them as they bake. I knew the others would be hungry when they were done, and that I wasn't going to be going because Sebastian was being overprotective and perhaps a little possessive of me. I shake my head to rid myself of those thoughts as I finish, filling the tins until there is a plate overflowing with muffins that smelled wonderful. I put a few on a plate, all on their own, along with a cup of tea, and carry it to Seal's room. Seal, I made you something to eat, I say as I walk into his study. He gives me a small sigh before looking up at me. Is that all there is? Seal asks, a small frown starting to form on his face. I giggle a little before putting the plate in front of him and the teacup next to it. I'm not going with you, right? You might want to enjoy my cooking while you can, I say before sitting down in the chair on the other side of his desk. He sighs a little before starting to eat, and his eyes light up a little as he continues to eat. This is really good, he says as he picks up his teacup. I smile widely at him as he starts in on the second muffin that was there. I've never seen him eat so quickly and enjoy his food so much. He looks almost a little disappointed that they are gone as he finishes his tea. Seal, there are more in the kitchen. I can wrap some up for you to take with you. That was part of the reason I made them, I say as I pick up the dirty dishes and putting them back on the serving plate I had used to bring them in here with. Really? Seal asks, his eyes lighting up as disbelief filled his voice. Really, why don't you come and see? I say as I start to the door. I could hear him behind me, and when we get to the kitchen, the plate full of muffins was still there. Is there anything that doesn't take a lot of time that you can make for me to take with me? Seal asks, a small blush on his face. I nod my head before looking around to see where Sebastian was, which I was guessing overseeing the others packing. I would need a hand, but you wouldn't want to help and get him all dirty before you have to leave, I say in a teasing tone. Seal takes off his jacket, putting it on a stool that was nearby as he rolls up his sleeves. I chuckle a little before pulling out all the things we would need. Seal helps me, and I turn to see who's walking into the kitchen, as Seal helps me put things on trays that was going to go on before I put them in the oven. Celine, should they be doing this? Seal asks, and I look over at him, a small laugh slipping out as he fights with some dough that was sticking to his fingers. Stop moving and I will help, I say as I take his hand in mine and get the dough off of him. Once that crisis was over, Seal watches me put tray after tray into the ovens as he washes his hands. Thanks for the help, Seal. I'm sure you will think these taste the best because you helped with them, I say, then look at the doorway to see Sebastian with an amused look on his face. Seal was sitting on the stool that his jacket had been on, a smile on his face. How long are you going to be watching us, Sebastian? Seal asked before looking at him. He shakes his head before walking into the kitchen. I was going to watch for a little longer, only because of how amusing it is to see you cooking, young master. It's good to know that Celine is good with children and will make a great mother as well, Sebastian says, making me blush madly. Seal's point of view. It was funny to watch Celine and Sebastian talking. Celine was blushing when he mentioned her being a good mother, as if she had never thought about it before. She was a little older than mothers I knew of, and she hadn't been married when she met us, because normally a woman her age would have been married for a year or two. Say, Celine, I have always wondered, why weren't you married at your age before you met Sebastian? I asked, which makes Celine blush more before looking away from us. Women my age don't normally get married because of being in school, but there are a few who do. I never found the right person to be with until I got here, Celine says as she looks into the oven checking on what we had been making. Her whole demeanor had changed when I asked her that. Celine, is everything all right? Sebastian asks as he takes a small step forward. I'm fine, Sebastian. You shouldn't worry so much, she says before turning to look at us. There was a small frown on her face, and I felt bad about asking her now. I get up and walk over to her. How much longer until they are done? I ask, getting her to look over at me. She sighs a little, then shakes her head. Another minute or two. Perhaps as they're cooling a little, Sebastian can pack up some of those muffins for you, Celine says as she sets out things on the counter that I really didn't know what they were used for. I was about to ask her when she spins around and walks over to the oven. You should move, Seal. I don't want to hurt you on accident, Celine says as she opens the oven and putting something on her hand before reaching in to pull out the trays. The kitchen filled with a wonderful smell, and I see the trays with all the treats on it. She puts the tray on the thing she had set out on the counter, and I wanted nothing more than to reach out and take one of those mini breads that we had made. Don't think about it, Seal. You will burn your hand, Celine says without looking at me, and that makes Sebastian chuckle a little. I shake my head, not really understanding how she knew what I was thinking. She looks over at me, a knowing smile on her face. It's a woman thing. I think every woman at the age of 17 knows when a younger child is thinking of doing something to hurt themselves, Celine says as she pulls out more of the trays. Sebastian shakes his head a little as he packs up some of the muffins and looking over the bread that we had made. She sighs a little before picking up one of the first batches out and handing it over to me. Try it and tell me what you think, she says before taking out the last few trays out of the oven before turning it off. I take a big bite and smile a little as its sweet taste fills my mouth. She was right. This was the best thing I've ever tasted, and I couldn't believe I had helped her make it. Celine should come with us, I say between mouthful of bread, not looking up at Sebastian or Celine. Sebastian's point of view. Are you sure that is wise, young master? I ask, not too happy with the thought of my wife coming with us when we were going to kill the queen. The young master nods as he finishes the last of the bread before picking up another one. Seal, as much as I would love to go with you, I'm going to stay here, Celine says, not giving me a chance to say a thing. He looks up at her with wide eyes, as if shocked to hear her say such a thing. She walks over to him before kneeling down so she was on eye level with him. Seal, I want you to not worry about me on this trip. I know you have something important to get done on it, and I will meet you in London when you get back, she says before brushing some hair on his face. The young master looks thoughtful for a while before nodding his head, seeing as how his mouth was full yet again. I don't know how Celine managed it, but she gave the young master a simple meal without him getting upset with her. I go back to packing up some of the bread and muffins for the young master, then looking at the time on my watch. Young master, it's about time we leave, I say, making him look away from Celine, who is putting the leftover bread on a big plate. Celine stops what she's doing and takes his hand before we leave the kitchen out to the front hall. He lets go of her hand before turning to look at her. Stay safe and make sure my manor is still standing when I'm gone, the young master says before hugging Celine. I will do my best, but I can't make any promises, she says, then kisses the top of his head. They pull apart, and the young master looks at me. I will see you when I get back, I say before pulling her close and kissing her. I was a little unsure about leaving her here with the others, seeing as how she was still dealing with going through the changes. She gives me a small smile before waving at us as we leave. Celine's point of view. Once Seal and Sebastian was gone, I look at the others who were complaining about being hungry. There is food in the kitchen for all of us, I say before walking back into the kitchen to get some of the food before they eat all of it. I could hear footsteps behind me, then a hand on my back. You really need it, Celine? Sebastian left us food? Finney asked with excitement in his voice. I shake my head a little before looking over at him. No, Finney, I left food for all of you because I made something for Seal to take with him on his trip, I say as we walk in for them to see all the muffins and bread left. I grab a muffin before they start grabbing things. They were smiling as they ate, and I took what I wanted because they all realized that I hadn't had much. I was a little surprised that we had eaten all that I had made, but shake my head a little at the thought. I knew it would take a day or two for Seal and Sebastian to reach Paris, so I head out to the garden where Pluto was running around, but he ran over to me whining a little. I pat his head, but stop when I remember what he was about to do to this place I now call home. The others come outside as well and talk about what they wanted to do, seeing as how Seal was gone. I sigh a little before looking around to see how involved they were with what they were doing. Satisfied with that, I head inside and down to the basement, where I dig a small hole that was big enough for my bag and deep enough that when the place burned down around it, that it would be fine. Once I was done with that, I dust off my hands before making my way up to the library to read for an hour or two, as I thought of what I wanted to make for dinner, seeing how it was now past lunchtime. I sighed as I realized the book I was reading was about how pure and good angels were, and I didn't want to think about Ash and Angela at the moment, knowing full well that they were going to hit on Sebastian. I put the book back and look around at all the books again. There was nothing here that screamed at me to read it, so I settled on looking through a cookbook that I'm sure Sebastian had gotten when he first started making food for Seal, so he knew how it tasted. As I read, my eyes started to get heavy, and I drifted into sleep, only to be woken up by Finney. Celine, it's almost time for dinner, and we were wondering if you would teach us how to make something. Finney asks, his eyes sparkling at the thought. I sigh as I stand and give a small nod of my head. He laughs before grabbing my hand and pulling me down to the kitchen where the others were waiting for me. I teach them how to make a pasta dish because they wouldn't burn down the place with it. Once we were done eating we all head back outside before walking around the garden, talking about little things that were nice about Seal being gone. One of them was Sebastian wasn't here to get mad when a mistake was made. I was getting pretty sleepy, so after an hour or two outside, I tell them all good night and head to bed. The next morning I get up early and dress in the dark blue dress Sebastian had made me before leaving the manor. I walk down the path when Finny stops me. Celine, where are you going? Sebastian asks me to keep a close eye on you. Finny says. I give a small sigh before walking over to him. I'm going into London to talk with someone. It shouldn't take me long, but I will be back as soon as I can, I say, which makes Finny shake his head a little. I'm going with you, he says, before grabbing my hand and leading me to the stables. We each get on a horse and ride into town, stopping at the undertaker's shop. I had been able to save some of the bread from yesterday to give to him. I'm not going to take long, Finny, so don't worry, I say, seeing the worried look on Finny's face as he looks over the shop we are now in front of. All right, I'll be out here if you need me, Finny says. I nod, then walk into the shop, a small smile on my face. I hear the bell ring. The Earl's kitten is back again, Undertaker says from one of the coffins. I just wasn't sure which one. Of course I am. I brought you a treat, but if you're going to hide, then I might just leave with it, I say before turning around as if to leave. I feel sleeves on my arms as I'm pulled into a stop. Treats, you say? Undertaker says as he spins me around. I smile brightly at him as I hold out the bag I had for him. I just wanted to ask you a favor, Undertaker. If you run into Seal on a boat without Sebastian, make sure he has something to eat, I say, which makes the Undertaker stop what he was doing. So you know about what is going to happen soon. William Grell just left not that long ago, asking for my help because of it, he says as he looks me up and down. Don't worry about me. I can handle myself. Just help Seal if he needs it. Think of it as a debt I will pay off later, I say as I wave my hands as I talk, not sure what to do with them. Undertaker takes a bite out of the bread before looking over at me. All right, make me more of this some day soon, and I will help you out, he says as he waves the bread around. Deal, I say as I stand. He watches me leave, and I grab Finny's arm before we head back home. I was just praying that I had done the right thing to help Seal when I wasn't with him to help. I walked up to my room and lay on the bed, not wanting to think about all that was going to be happening soon. I could just picture in my mind Sebastian's fight with Ash and Seal, telling him to stop, as well as the ride back where Sebastian questions Seal about his soul. The harsh gaze that Sebastian gives Seal breaks my heart, but at the same time makes it beat faster in the anticipation of something good happening. I shake my head, trying to rid the thoughts that were there, knowing I needed my mind about me for when the manor was burning down, so I could get out in time. That night I hardly slept, and when I did, it was filled with nightmares of being killed in the fire. I woke breathing hard and looked around to realize that it was very early in the morning. I get out of bed and walk to the bathroom before taking a bath to wash away all the fears that had plagued me at night. When I was done, I got dressed and headed downstairs to make something to eat. Bard was up, and he gave me a smile as I helped him make something that wouldn't blow up or catch on fire. As the day went on, I had this feeling that something bad was going to happen, and I slept for most of the day. Do you think she is sick? Bard asks as Finny places a hand on my forehead, waking me from my dream. She feels a little warm, but not much. I think she isn't sleeping well without Sebastian here, and might be worrying over the young master on his trip, Finny says. They leave me alone for after that, and I open my eyes to look around the room I was in. I had come into Seal's study to look out the window, and fallen asleep in a chair that was by it. Sebastian, please, keep Seal safe until the end, I whispered to myself, knowing that he couldn't hear me at all. I always thought that the cat that attacked Seal near the end had been Sebastian, but he was a crow demon, so it couldn't be him, could it? I shake my head, not wanting to think of such thing before heading to the kitchen, because I knew it was just about time for dinner. Once I was done eating, I talked with the others for a while before we all head to bed. I decided that I was going to sleep in a dress because I had a feeling that the fire was going to happen tonight. I was woken up by the sound of the howl and jumped from bed, running from the others, afraid that they might not have realized what was going on yet. When I found them, they were all outside yelling about getting water, and I see Ash on Pluto's back as he runs around setting things on fire. There was nothing we could do here for now, so they changed and we rushed to London to try stopping Pluto, but I knew that wasn't going to help or happen. I just hoped that the Undertaker would keep his word, and Sebastian would keep Seal safe because of their contract. Chapter 23. Sebastian's Point of View. I made sure the young master got onto a boat all right before heading into London to see what was happening. I had been a little worried about Celine this whole time, but the young master losing his will to come through on our contract had thrown my worries out the window. Now that I see the streets on fire, the worry and fear of losing Celine was becoming greater, but I kept myself together, knowing that both Celine and the young master needed my strength more than my fears at the moment. I had a feeling that Celine had taken care of the young master in her own way, because I could have sworn I had seen Undertaker on the same boat as the young master. I held back the little chuckle that I wanted to give at the thought of what kind of joke Celine had to tell for this favor from the Undertaker. Seal's Point of View. As I eat, Undertaker was talking about getting roped into helping the other Grim Reapers in London because they had to collect a large amount of souls tonight. Your kitten asked me to give you that when I saw you. I didn't really understand why, and she never told me not to tell you, Undertaker says before shrugging his shoulders. My kitten? I ask, a little confused. Undertaker nods before giving me a creepy smile. Yes, your kitten, the girl with long black hair and eyes like Sebastian's. She offered to make me something good to eat if I helped you out, which I wouldn't turn that down, Undertaker says before looking around the boat like he wanted to say or do something else. Celine asked him to give me food and offered him something to get him to do it. How did she even know that I would need food, or the Undertaker would find me? I think before remembering that she knew all about our lives, and I shake my head a little, as Undertaker starts talking again about what was going on. Celine's Point of View. I was running behind the others as we chase after Pluto, as the city burns around us. I see a flash of white and stop running, worried that Angela or Ash would be sweeping down to take me somewhere. I was about to start running again, when I was grabbed roughly and being dragged away from the others. The Queen wishes to see you, Ash says, and I struggle a little to get away from him. Let me go, you psychopath, I scream as I struggle against him a little. He laughs but tightens his grip and starts to move faster. I was fighting the whole time he was taking me away, and then there was pain in the back of my head. The world around me blurs, but I didn't get knocked out. I feel myself being lifted up, and then the sensation of being in the air, which makes me give a small scream. Silly girl, the Queen only wants to talk with you for a little while, just until the Earl Phantom Hive comes for you, Ash says as he runs a finger through my hair, which I wanted to slap away and yell at him for doing something that only Sebastian and Seal were allowed to do. I struggle against him a little, then feel myself starting to fall, making me scream again, knowing I was going to die if I hit the ground at this height. Stupid girl, you could have died, Ash snaps as he catches me and holds me tighter to him so I couldn't get out of his hold again. Why are you doing this? I ask as we keep traveling. He chuckles a little before pulling me up more and turning me so I could look him in the eyes. Because I want the Earl to have some motivation to come to the Queen, Ash says before dipping his head so his face is closer to mine and his lips were pushed roughly on mine. I hit him as hard as I could, and as soon as he pulls away from the kiss, I bite his arm, causing him to give a grunt of pain. We are soon at the palace, and Ash leads me to the Queen's room, making sure everyone sees me as we go, probably so that when Seal gets shot, I don't get hurt as well. He throws me into the room, and I hit the wall a little harder than I think he means to. I gasp in pain and see the Queen looking at me with worry and anger. I didn't really understand why she would look at me. Ask her the questions I need answer to, the Queen says. When she looks over at Ash, she gives a small bow before walking slowly over to me and picks me up again. I was then forced into a chair by the bed, and Ash was standing over me, trying to be frightening. Why are you working with Seal? Ash asks, and I shake my head, not willing to answer a single question they had for me. I'm not going to tell you, I say as he raises his hand as if to hit me. Ash scowls at me, then gives a small nod of his head. What is your relationship with Seal and Sebastian? Asks Ash, and I jump from my seat before slapping him. Ask me whatever you want, but you will not get an answer from me, you crazy angel, I scream, and then I am thrown across the room, feeling pain through my whole body. I didn't make a sound as Ash walks closer to me, a look of pure hatred on his face. When he gets to me, he holds me up by the neck before slamming me into the wall, and I was forced to look into his eyes. You will die with Seal tonight, and I will make sure of that, Ash says, before I feel something pierce into my side. This happens a few more times before he drops me on the ground before talking with the Queen, like in the show, and leave her in his anger. I hold on to my sides, letting a few gasping breaths in and out before it hurt, because it hurt to move and breathe, so I was going to save my strength for when Seal gets here and would need me. Sebastian's Point of View. I was watching the young master as he runs through the city, wanting to make sure he was fine. I had seen the others from Phantom Hive Manor, but I hadn't seen Celine which worried me greatly, because what if she had gotten hurt and they hadn't noticed that she wasn't with them? Ash shows up and starts to talk with me, and I show no emotion as we talk and watch the young master. Mayrin had just saved the young master from falling buildings, and that would have killed him. As Ash talks, I think about how quickly the checkmate of this was coming fast. Say, Sebastian, what is that girl to you? The one who is helping the Earl in all his cases? Ash asks as he looks at me. Girl? I ask, not really understanding what he means. The one who owns this, Ash says before throwing something at me, and I catch it. I wanted to scream when I see Celine's wedding ring in my hand because I was worried that she might be dead. I guess whatever she was to you doesn't matter now, seeing as how she is bleeding to death in the Queen's room for the Earl to see when he gets there, Ash says, and I ball my hand around Celine's ring because the thought of her dead before she had my child or being with me alone one last time sparked a rage in me that I couldn't wait to unleash. I wouldn't let this angel know how much he has angered me, so I leave my mask of indifference on my face, and once he wasn't looking, slipped Celine's ring into my pocket so I could give it to her when I find her alive. I was a little insulted when Angela asked me if I wanted to join her because of what she/he had done to my Celine. Seal's point of view. I was running to a horse after ordering Bard, Finny, and Mayrin to kill Pluto. I needed to get to the Queen's palace so I could kill her, but my mind wandered to Celine because I hadn't seen her yet, and she had said she would meet me in London when I got back, so where could she be? I should have asked them where she was, but I needed to get to the Queen now that I knew what I needed to do. When I got there, everyone is frozen in place, so I just walked to the Queen's room without a second thought. I could hear a music box, so I ran into the room to see what was in there, knowing that the Queen would be on the other side of the door. I see her dead on the bed, and was a little surprised to say the least. Seal, run, Celine says, and I see her trying to stand, but she keeps slipping down, and I hold back a scream as I see the pool of blood that was around her. I rush over and help her up, not caring now if I got hurt when we tried to escape here. Seal, I'm fine and can move now, but you need to run and don't stop until Sebastian is here for you, she says as pain flashes across her face. I'm not going anywhere without you, I say as I help her over to the door so she can run when we need to. There is a scream and Celine grabs me before she starts running, and I feel the little drops on my skin and clothes as we run. She was slowing down, but was pushing me to go as fast as I could. I stopped moving when Celine falls, unable to move anymore, and I was going to protect her even if it means dying. Celine's point of view. I couldn't run anymore, and Seal insisted of doing as I told him. Instead of doing as I told him, stopped standing over me as guns pointed at him. I couldn't move to help him when he gets shot soon, and I could feel the tears starting to form in my eyes. Don't cry, Celine. They aren't going to hurt you, Seal says as he looks down at me, giving a small, sad smile, before making his little speech. I hold back the scream that was forming when Seal falls over after being shot. The guards start to move in, and I was stepped on. I relax a little when Sebastian shows up and lay my head on the ground, giving a little sigh. I soon feel hands on mine and look up at Seal, who has worry in his eyes. Celine, are you all right? Seal asks as he holds on to me tighter. I knew that Sebastian and Seal were talking, but everything was starting to become blurry, and I was having a hard time keeping my eyes open. I feel lips on mine, then a metallic taste enter my mouth, making me gasp a little and allowing more of it to run in. I look around a little, alarmed, but relax a little, when the person kisses me pull away. That should help close the wounds you received, my lady. I will leave you in the care of someone until I can come look after you properly, Sebastian says, then picks Seal and myself up. As he walked, I felt nothing but pain and was about to beg him to leave me where I was so he could carry out Seal's order when he stopped walking. Celine, I will have to leave you in care of a Grim Reaper at the moment, and as much as I hate to do that, you are getting in the way, Sebastian says. I could hear the pain of admitting that in his voice. I understand, Sebastian, I say as he puts me on my feet, which I'm a little shaky on. I lean in closer to Seal and kiss his cheek. Goodbye, Seal. Thank you for everything, I say, and lean in a little closer so my lips are pressed against his ear. I will see you again soon, I say in a soft, airy voice that I knew Sebastian wouldn't hear, but Seal would. I pull away from him before looking at Sebastian. He leans in closer before roughly placing his lips to mine. I could feel the worry and pain in that kiss, and a few tears started to fall, hitting his face before he pulls away. I love you, Sebastian says, his lips rubbing against mine as he speaks. I love you too. Now go and do as Steele ordered. I will be waiting for you at the manor when you're done, I say as I pull away from him. I watch them run off into the night before letting a few more silent tears run down my face before walking to where I thought Undertaker or Girl would be. I had to stop once or twice to lean against a building, but not staying there long because of the heat of it. I'm not sure how long I walked, but I finally see a flash of red and just about screamed when the chainsaw stopped close to my face. You're not dead? Girl shouts before moving away from me. I look around, ignoring him and taking another stumbling step, but trip on something. Grell catches me, a small worried look on his face. Undertaker, help! Grell yells, and I hear the pounding of feet making me put my hands over my ears from the pain it was causing. Grell pats my back as if worried I had died on him, and I could feel him lift an arm before giving a small scream, probably because his hand had blood on it. You're bleeding, Grell asks as he pushes me back a little, but making sure I didn't fall over again. Undertaker comes walking over, and when he sees me, takes me from Grell. Kitten, where's your master? Undertaker asks, but I shake my head a little. Sebastian left me in your care as he and Seal go to deal with the angel, I say before leaning my head on his shoulder as he helps me walk over to some place to sit. Undertaker's point of view. The Earl's kitten was hurt, and Grell was a little panicked when he heard that Sebastian left her in our care. Kitten? Why did you call her Kitten? Grell asks as I look over her to see how badly she was hurt. As my hands run over her dress, I find at least 5 tears in her dress. She must have been bleeding pretty badly, and I was worried about her because she might be bleeding to death. She follows the Earl around like a kitten, and Sebastian seems to treat her like a kitten as well, I say, which makes her laugh a little. I don't like being talked about when I'm right here, she says. The only reason I call her Kitten was because I don't remember her name. Grell was giving her a look of hatred, which I didn't understand. Brat, why does Sebastian like you and not me? Grell asks as he leans in closer to her. Grell, Undertaker, you should be working, not trying to help a person who's going to die, William says. The girl laughs lightly before trying to stand up, but I push her down. She isn't on the list, William, I say before looking at her again, seeing that her eyes were closed and she was biting her lip, making it bleed. Girl, tell me your name, William says as he looks over her. She sits up a little more before opening her eyes slowly, and I hold back the gasp as I see demon eyes. My name is Celine, she says in a pained voice, and as soon as she started talking, her eyes changed back to normal. I could smell the blood on her lips and realized that the blood had already been there, and it was a evil smell clinging to it. Are you a demon? I ask as Will looks in the book. Celine shakes her head no, then nods her head. It's hard to explain. Sebastian gave me his blood. I think when he found me bleeding so badly, she says, before putting his hand to her side at the memory of being hurt. Her name isn't on the list. Leave her be so we can get our work done, William says before turning to walk away. I can help, Celine says, making Grell and William stop in their tracks. How can a human girl help? Grell asks, looking like he was going to hurt her. I know where all the souls are going and why you can't collect them, she says before Grell slaps her across the face. Hit me again and Sebastian will kill you. He left me in the care of all Grim Reapers, and if I'm hurt more than I already am, he just might start a war with you, she says, her voice dripping with ice, and Grell flinches away from her. I'll keep her with me, and she can help me out, I say, which makes William nod before he walks away with Grell close behind. I pick up this girl and put her on my back, not caring if my clothes got a little bloody. Why would Sebastian start a war? I ask as I move. She gives a little laugh. Because he left his wife with you, she says, and I was a little shocked to hear that. Don't tell Grell. I need him to still keep his attachment to him. So it will help soon. I'm only telling you because I can trust you, right? Celine asks before leaning closer to me. I nod my head, a smile on my face, because this kitten had some nasty claws that I didn't want to be in the way of later in life. She was helpful by telling me where to go and what to do so I could help the best that I can. I felt a little blood on my back every now and then, but it wasn't as bad as it had been when she first found Grell. You should rest for a while. Grell is no doubt going to complain to you about all of this soon, Celine says. And I walk over to some steps. Sure enough, Grell shows up and complains. Seal's point of view. I was watching Sebastian fight Ash and Angela, but my mind wandered to Celine every once in a while, as if in a while I was watching Sebastian fight Ash and Angela, but my mind wandered to Celine every once in a while, to if she was alright, or if she hadn't gotten any help yet. Ash stops fighting before holding up a hand to stop Sebastian. I want to know the Earl did No, Earl, did that girl I stabbed die? Ash asks, and Sebastian flew at him, punching him in the face, hard enough to make him fly across the bridge. Ash stands and laughs a little, not even a scratch on him, as he starts to walk back over to us. She didn't die, and you might want to tell Sebastian you're sorry for hurting her, I say before looking over at my brother, who looked madder than I'd ever seen. Sebastian loses his arm, and I was a little shocked by that. The souls around us start to disappear, and I had a feeling that the Grim Reapers were hard at work on them. I just hoped that Celine's soul wasn't in that mess, and that she was all right for Sebastian's sake. Celine's point of view. I sit on the steps that Undertaker had left me on, but he hadn't gone too far because he was still keeping an eye on me. It looked like things were starting to come to an end, and I breathed out a small sigh of relief. I was starting to feel stronger now, so I stand before taking a few steps forward, but before I stumble, I feel strong arms around me to keep me from falling. You shouldn't be walking around, Grell says, and I was a little shocked that he cared so much. I tried to push him off, but he wasn't having that at all. Stop moving around so much, or you'll open your wounds back up, Grell says, and Undertaker gives a laugh at the look on my face. I stop what I was doing as I look around, realizing that the souls were no longer going to help the angel, which makes me give a small cry. I feel some pain in my left arm and knew that it had to be from Sebastian losing his. Kitten, are you all right? Undertaker asks as he walks over to me, still in Grell's arms. I'm fine, just happy that you're able to help Sebastian, I say as I rub my arms, realizing how cold I was now. Grell lets me go, and I take a small step forward, away from him. Are you cold? Grell asks before taking off his jacket and putting it over my shoulders. Why are you being so nice to me? I ask as I turn to look at him. A guilty look comes over his face. I don't want Sebastian to hurt me, so if that means being too nice to you, then I will, Grell says. I shake my head before putting my hand up to my face, only to realize that my gloves were covered in blood, which makes me chuckle a little. Sebastian would yell at me for this, but I don't have any clean gloves with me, I think as I shake my head a little. What's so funny? Grell yells as William walks over, a small scowl on his face. I was just thinking that Sebastian would be yelling at me right now for how dirty my gloves are before he could change them for me, I say as I hold up my other hand, only to see my wedding ring missing, which makes me panic a little. As if noticing my panic, Undertaker pats my shoulder, calming me down. Kitten, it's all right. I'm sure he has your ring, Undertaker whispers in my ear, so only I could hear. I nod my head and look over at the bridge that I knew Sebastian was fighting on right now. I wanted nothing more than to run over to that bridge in the hope that I could see Sebastian in his true form and be there when he saved Steel, but I could hardly move and knew that the Reapers wouldn't let me leave their sight right now. What are we going to do with her? William asks from somewhere behind me, but I wasn't paying much attention to him right now. I could see the black feathers in the air, knowing that Sebastian was winning this fight now and would be back to me as soon as he could. I could feel my legs give out, knowing that Steel was dead now, and a small sob escapes my lips as tears fall down my face. Nothing anyone did right now would calm me down or help me. I needed to be away from them all, and alone before the crying became too bad. I don't know who picked me up, but they were carrying me, and I grabbed their shirt, crying harder. Everything is all right, little kitten. The Earl and Sebastian will be here soon to get you, Undertaker says. I open my eyes to look at him, because I was in his arms. No, they won't. Steel is dead, I say before sobs start to rack my body again. I passed out not that much later, and when I wake up, I was not in my bed at home, or in the bed Sebastian and I shared. I looked around only to see Grell asleep next to me, worry on his face. I sit up a little, only to realize that everything around me is blood red and screamed Grell. I was still in my bloody dress and had my blood-covered gloves on, but Grell had put his jacket back on. I was about to get out of the bed when hands grabbed my arms, which makes me jump a little, and turn to see Grell half asleep, holding me in place. I have to take you to Undertaker now, Grell yawns before helping me up, and we were soon in Undertaker's shop. Undertaker looks over at us, a worried look on his face. Kitten, you're looking better, Undertaker says as he walks over to me, looking me up and down. I nod my head before pulling a little on my gloves that were stuck to my hands. I need to go back to Phantom Hive Manor for clean clothes to see if the others are all right, I say, before looking up at Grell and Undertaker. They both nod their heads, and I was picked up by Grell, who carries me out to Undertaker's horse, which he puts me on before Undertaker gets on behind me. Grell is watching my shop as I make sure it's safe for you at the Earl's home, Undertaker says in a kind tone. I shake my head before working on getting my right glove off, which took a while, but it finally slipped off. I was about to work on the left one when Undertaker puts a hand over mine. Look up, he says. And I look up to see the manor in one piece, and the others walking around looking worried. When he stops the horse, I jump off before running over to Finny, who picks me up, a happy grin on his face. "Celine, you're safe!" Finny yells. The others hug me as well before letting me go and to take a bath and change. I was going to be a long wait for Sebastian to come back, but I would wait until the end of the time for that. Sebastian's point of view. I was just about to take my young master's soul when I realized that it was gone. I was mad and destroyed the island that I was on. I pick up the young master, knowing that I would have to get his soul back and maybe have to nurture it back to the way it had ended up. I was a little mad that I couldn't go straight back to Celine, but my contract was still in place until I got his soul. I shake my head as I start my search.
Careless Shazam solution!
Fuck, Colton.
Careless Shazam solution.
Okay. Thank you for scaring the shit out of me again.
You're welcome.
I shake my head as I start my search, hoping that it wouldn't keep me away from my wife for too long, and it wouldn't take long to get the young master's soul back to how I wanted it. Okay, so I'm going to start there, and I will do the next two chapters in the next video. Alrighty. Peace out, Knights.